So again, we are looking into chapter 4. So we are skipping around because importantly, what I want to show you is starting off with our vendors first. Now, chapter 2 is going to be looking at our customers and what we do to sell things. And then chapter 3 is what else can we do with more customers. Now, in the flow of transaction, you definitely want to start with making purchases of inventory in order to have your sales. But in this case, we're just looking at how to enter a bill. And usually that's typically what the first task is going to be. Just recognizing who your vendors are, what they do, and how they I guess, function as part of your business. So here we're going to be looking at entering a vendor. Okay, we're going to be looking at activating classes, which we will talk about. We will be looking at how to pay our vendors. Okay, there are 3 ways to pay vendors, and with that, we're going to be looking at how to print our checks, void the checks, and then we're going to be looking at how we can apply vendor credits. Okay, so if for any reason we need to return our products or we get our vendor credit, we need to be able to figure out how we can take that and apply it to our bill. And then lastly, we're going to look at how we can track our credit cards and how do we look at our accounts payable reports. Okay, so all of that, see, that's a lot of things. Now, I'm not going to talk about sales tax payments because I'm going to have you guys read that on your own just because, first off, we haven't even dealt with how to make a sale yet. So I wouldn't think this is super important to learn right now because it does fall after chapter 2. But definitely I would like for you guys to read that on your own and practice that on your own time. And same thing with keeping track of job costing. Keeping track of job costing, that's primarily towards your customers. And it does deal with your vendors too, especially when you're dealing with an independent contractor. But for this case, it's not important because we will look into it again in when we're looking into either chapter 9, which is billing and billable time, and as well as chapter 2 when we're actually purchasing things for customers. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be looking at is, let's look at our vendor home page. Okay, our vendor center. Now, there are 3 ways you can get to the vendor center. All right, you can get to the vendor center on your home page by clicking the word vendors here. You can go to the vendors menu bar, and at the very top, you got vendor center. And then lastly, if you have your icon bar set up, you should be able to see a vendor's icon, and you should be able to open up your vendor center there. Let me take a look at my vendor center. Vendors. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use my icon bar, and here is what my vendor center should look like as just in general what it looks like. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and stretch out my little window here to kind of pull out a little more information so we can kind of see everything overall. Okay, so this is the overall vendor center. Yes, okay. So here, this is where majority of my transactions dealing with vendors is going to take place. Okay, so here is a list of all of our vendors in alphabetical order. They also have their associated account balances with us. So right now, we have Wong and Fu. We owe them some money. All right. We also owe the Board of State of Equalization for our sales tax. Okay. Here, every time we click a person, whether it is a supply, if we click a supply, what's going to happen is our left panel over here, right panel, I'm sorry. The right panel here is going to give you basically a little snapshot of your vendor and their information, such as their telephone number, such as what their company name is, who's the owner, right? Phone number, address. It's going to be right here in this little window here, right? Underneath it is going to be every single transaction that you have created with this vendor, okay? So, for example, if I go back to Wong and Sun, it shows here that I have 0 transactions. Unless I toggle it up here and say I want to see all of them, I have a bill from them that they issued to me and I have not paid yet. Okay, so that is just one way of looking at it. So this is the vendor center. Now, there are a couple ways that you can actually enter a vendor, whether it's a new vendor or whether it's an old vendor. All right, you can have the choice to either add them one at a time or you can add multiple at a time. Now, I'm going to show you what happens if I do multiple vendors at one time. It's going to give me a list. So as I can fill in my information, I don't have to go through page by page or person to person. I can just fill out all this information like this. So in this case, I would be able to fill it out just like if I were to, hold on, there you go. So I go down here and I'd be able to type in anything, my person, whatever it is I want, and be able to go to the next person, right? But in this case, so if you have a list of your vendors, you can just pop them in one at a time. You can pop them all in at the same time, okay? But for this case, you can also upload an Excel spreadsheet that has a list of all of your vendors in here. You could just copy and paste them right in here as long as the columns are matching, okay? So if in case like I'm starting from scratch, right? I don't have any of these vendors and I have to put all of them one at a time. That is how you enter them in. The second way is going to be dealing with a vendor one at a time. So I'm going to click no. All right, so I'm going to dealing with one vendor at a time. And that is if I go to new vendor and I add each vendor one at a time. Now this is going to give you a detailed way of entering your vendor, right? You're going to be very specific on all the details and fill out as much as you can, as much information as you can about a vendor. Now, the third way you can enter a vendor is doing the quick add. So with the quick add is basically, let's say you're dealing with a vendor, right? And I don't have them in here. You type it in and you could do a quick add, which just allows you to add them into your list of vendors, but their information is still blank, as in you need to go in there and you need to enter in all the details afterwards, okay? And we'll get to take a look at that. We'll get to take a look at that in a minute for how to do, not in a minute, but in a few minutes later, we're gonna look at how to do a quick add. So in this case, we want to start off by entering our very first new vendor, okay? And I believe this is on page, let's see what page we're on. To add the new vendor, it's going to be on page, this one. So this one is page 102. They have a little sample of all the things that are that we want to fill in as far as this person. So we're going to go ahead and utilize this piece of information and we're going to plug it in here. So we're going to go through each category, which is on the left side, right? These are all the categories that you have in order to fill in the data for each vendor. I'm sorry, my dogs are going crazy. So the very first one we have here is going to be the very basic information. So this is like address and stuff. So first thing that we're going to do is, this is Boswell Consultant, I think. Consultant. Okay. And then, so now that we have the company name here, who is this person I'm going to be entering in? So it's going to be Mr. Okay, so they give you a little spot to do that. And it's going to be for Stephen Boswell. Like that. So Boswell. Stephen Boswell. Okay, and then what is his job title? Well, you know what? Isn't he is going to be the owner. All right, so he's the owner of the store. All right, so now we're going to be looking into the main phone line. Usually they should have one. You can either do it as a main phone number or a work phone number or even a mobile phone number. I think in this one he only has a main office, which is going to be, is it 510-555-5500, something like that. Okay, so that is his phone number there. Now, you could go through each one if you want to continue that. So here, he has, I don't think he has a work phone number or a mobile phone number or a fax number. So we could go ahead and leave those blank. So here, we're looking here. Does he have a main email? Yes, he does. I believe it's Steven at...
Oh, it's just Steve. Steve. Steve at Boswell, WELLRIGHT.
All right, now dot biz. Right, biz or dot us.
Oh, wait. Let me. I'm using my. Yeah, it's US.
Okay, us.
Yeah.
So we have Steve at Boswell, Boswell right now .us. So is his name Steve or Steven?
We've got Steve here, but up here it's Stephen, where we're putting his main name in up at the very top, at the top.
So it is Steven.
Yeah, it's Steve, but his email has Steve at Boswell.
All right, Mr. Stephen Boswell. Well, anyways, so we have his email there, and then of course his website is going to be Boswell right now .us, right? They should have
www.boswell.
Okay, so
now.us.
There you go. That's his website, www.boswellrightnow.us.
Exactly.
Now the next portion is to also enter in his address. In this case, he doesn't have one. He has a post office box. So he has a P.O. box, right? And I think it was 620. And Oakland,
California, 94610.
Oakland, California, 94610. Okay. Now, what you can do is oftentimes most businesses, right? Whatever their address is, it's also the same as their shipping address. So what I can do is, instead of typing this whole thing in here or highlighting and copy and pasting, I'm going to go ahead and click copy. And what it's going to do is it's going to make sure I double check my work to make sure that this is exactly where I'm shipping it to. In this case, I'm not going to have Boswell. I'm just going to have just Steven. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And I'm going to click OK. And what's going to happen is going to transfer right over here saying, okay, I can ship it. I can, when I'm mailing him stuff, I can address him as the company name. But in this case, I want to ship out to him specifically. Okay? All right. So just by that, instead of having to copy and paste it here, you could just click the copy button and it will transfer all the information here. Now, this is the bare minimum that you need for a vendor. You don't need to fill out all the information. So you can click OK to completely confirm his existence, right? So boom, he's right here as Boswell Consultant. Now, you can always right click and edit it, or you can also edit it up here with the little pencil button. You can even add files to his case. So every time he has a bill, you can staple or scan in the bill and put it in this vendor thing. Maybe you have a business card. Put it, scan it, and put it in here with the little file button. Okay, but I'm not done with Boswell just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and press that little pencil button and be able to edit his profile. All right. So the next thing is going to be looking at payment settings. So payment settings here is, do we have an account existing with this vendor? And oftentimes, most times, you will, especially when you are purchasing items from a vendor, right? And they allow you to owe them, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to create an account number for you so that you can have records in your own books. So this is not your account. This is not his account for you, for your company. This is your account for his company.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what is it? Is there an account number for this one?
Let me see real quick. Work. Let's see an account number. Other. No, I don't. It's not showing anything else. It's just the address, his email address, website.
We're on the next section.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Let's see. Settings.
I still don't see an
I don't-
account number.
yeah, I don't
There's
either.
a vendor tax ID, but that's it.
Okay, hold on, I think it was this one, right? Yes, our account number is 66112.
Oh, I could barely see that.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't have my magnifying glass up. Yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely, it says account number
Account number 66112.
2.
Okay, so account number is 66112. And it says that now we can say, well, what kind of terms does he normally give us? In this case, I think it's, what is it, 2%?
Looking down here.
Yeah, 2%, 10, net 30.
Perfect. 2%, 10, net 30. So that's what he gives us as a generous discount if we pay on time. Now, the next question is going to ask you is, what do you want to print the name on the check? Boswell Consultants. Is that okay, or should we change it to Steven? Nope, Boswell is correct. Now, did they give us a credit limit? Then you can add that here. If they give us a specific price level point, then you can also add that here. All right. And in this case, this is normally what he would give us. This is our account number. And usually when we write our checks, it's to the Boswell Consultant. Okay. So now we're going to be moving into vendor tax ID number. Okay. So in this case, as we look in our book, right? The next page is going to say, what is his tax ID number? And is he a 1099?
Yes.
Yes, he is. So in this case, vendor got, I think it's 12311 dash 12.
2. No, 1, 2.
Got it.
1, yeah. Then it's 1230. 2, 3, 4.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
Okay. Yes. And then,
And it's eligible for 1099.
so yes, so because he is a independent contractor, what he can do for us is every time every time he bills us, right? He's considered a 1099 worker for us. All right, now we're going to be looking at account settings. All right, is there anything associated with every time I use this vendor? All right, meaning every time I'm involved with this vendor, am I incurring anything? And in this case, yes, because if he's a consultant, right, we consider that as some kind of expense to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, if you guys keep reading, what kind? Professional fees. Yes, professional fees is correct.
Right, right.
Okay, so here, every time we associate anything here, it's going to be professional fees. So in this case here, you see what I did here? All I did was type in PRO, and then all of a sudden my list populates with the available things I have here.
Right.
So this will, I can just click it and it will automatically fill it in for me. I don't need to keep typing. All I typed was the first 3 letters. And if I knew the account number, I just type in the first number, right? You can also use the drop down menu to just look for it if you have to.
Okay.
Okay, so he only is going to be he is only associated with professional fees, so that's it. All right.
Okay.
Now here's the additional piece of information. What kind of vendor is he? He is considered as a consultant. All right, and what county does he belong to?
Alameda.
A-L-I.
L-A.
A-M.
EDA.
EDA, Alameda? Okay. All right. So, if you look very carefully, we are in the custom field section. Okay? And I want to add a few things that maybe I want to know more about, such as I can do spouse's name. So, I want to make sure that applies to not only my vendors or not only to my employees. I want to know that for my vendors and my customers because it's always good conversations, right? Other things that I want to also look at is I want to be able to see when did his business start, business date, okay? Why? Maybe I'll send him some flowers to congratulate on his business, okay?
Oh, okay.
Other things I could also do is what if he has a pet name? Not like a pet name, but if he has a pet, what kind of name? What is the name of his pet?
So a vendor wouldn't think that would be unusual for someone to ask those questions for another.
I
company
mean,
to ask those questions?
it's just pieces of information to go ahead. Like let's say you're at a meeting, right? And you're like, "Oh, hey, Mr. Boswell, how is your son?" Right? How since they invite us to a company meeting, right? Oh, how is your dog, Fluffy?
Yeah.
Things like that, right? And then the more personal that you know them, the more likely they're more likely to kind of welcome you and treat you as a better human being versus someone who's just like really straightforward, right? You're more and this is exactly why we have these custom fields, is to add in anything. So let's just do hobby.
So it
That's
breaks the ice.
yes. So hobby,
Which is good PR.
yes, it's
Yeah.
good promote exactly. It's good. It's also good. What you call it? It's also good. It's good etiquette. Think of it that way. Like, if you're trying to build a relationship with somebody, the best way to do, especially with business, is instead of making it so, oh, we're just based on a contract. No, you want to actually get to know that person, because they're more likely to, if they give you a hand or if you give them a hand, they'll give you one back. So, yeah, you're more inclined to do that. So that's why this is very good customer service, but it's also very good way of keeping your relationship alive. So in this case, I put spouse's name and I put hobby. Wait, I didn't put the business date in there. Business date, yeah, it should be there. Business date should be there. Okay. Oh, I don't see business date. That's so weird. Let's define this again. Oh, because I have it for my customers. Okay, so I want it for my vendors. All right.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm going to click OK. Okay, there you go. So for here, spouse's name. So Mr. Steven, I'm going to say his wife's name is Lori. Okay. And I'm going to spell Lori. Miss Lori Boswell. Okay. And then the business date of when they started their business, there was, I'm just going to make up a random date. So January 15th. Okay. And I'm going to say they established themselves in 2000. Okay. So they've been around for quite some time. And then hobbies. He likes to go fishing. Okay. Fishing and camping. So here with the custom fields, right? We could be like, oh, awesome. Did you end up going to Lake Tahoe or Salt Lake City? Did you go fishing, right? And it's a conversation starter, all right?
Right.
And then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now my full Boswell consultant has full items on here. So if you double click it too, you're able to pull up the information as well. So that's a third way you can actually edit the information. So it's really cool what you can do. Okay. And here we have 0 transactions with him, which is good. Okay. So that is how you enter a vendor in, and that is exactly what this is. Now, after we've learned how to do this, now the next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be entering in our expenses as of right now. But there's a first thing that we want to kind of go over, and that is how to activate our classes. Now, what does activating classes actually do? So what classes does is it pretty much separates your income and your expenses, and it kind of separates and categorizes them, and you can use it based on either line of business. So right here, you can use it for line of business. Oopsies. For line of business, you could do it for department, you could do it for location, and you could do it for your profit center or any other means of organizing your data. Okay? So again, you use class tracking to separate your income and you separate your expenses. So when we look in our first example, when we start making a bill, we're going to associate we're going to use our class settings to separate our expenses. So for this case, I'm going to make sure I have them active. Okay, and in order to activate this class tracking, you're going to go to edit and you're going to go to preferences. All right, and you're going to go to accounting. And since this is not a personal thing that you could do, it is definitely a company thing you can do, right? And then if you look down here under class, you already have it selected to use class tracking for transactions, okay? So again, when you activate your class section, this is how you, every time you make an expense or every time you make an income, you can associate it by either whatever category that you put your classes towards. Now, in this case, we're going to be using location. We have 2 store locations. We have one in San Jose, and the second one is going to be at Walnut Creek. Now, I have no idea where Walnut Creek is, but it's somewhere in Northern California. But yes, so now that I made sure that my classes are active, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate to you the very first transaction that we have to enter in as far as what this entails. So
Okay.
the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to look at the 3 different ways that we can pay a bill or enter in a transaction. Okay, hold on, let me see. Let's first look at our first transaction, which is to enter in a bill. Let me start with that one first. Let us incur a bill that we need to write off to in order to pay. Okay, so in this case, we are going to just do a random. We're gonna do so. So when we enter in a bill, right? There are 2 ways we can. There's really only one way to enter in a bill. The minute you receive it, you only have really one option, which is to either go to the enter bills, or you could just not enter it in and just write a check, right? That's the most common one that you can do. In case you go to like a random vendor, right? And you just made a random payment. Then you just go down to your either your check register, or you could even write a check to them to pay off that bill. Now in this
Okay, so
case,
it's not 3 different ways to enter a bill, there's just really the one that you're talking about?
yes,
Okay.
not a way, like a method, like when you're dealing with receiving a bill, right? You have the choice. You can either enter them into QuickBooks to have them remind you when to pay. Or the second method you can do is, if this bill isn't that significant, really have an effect on your account, you can go ahead and just write a check to them with no associations. Okay, does that make sense? So let's say like your telephone bill, right? I don't feel like recording it, so I'm just gonna write a check to him. Okay, and of course QuickBooks
Yeah, we used to do
will
it that way.
yeah.
We'd do it both ways.
Yeah.
Enter the bills with the invoices, and we'd also write checks.
Exactly. So you can have that choice when it comes into recognizing expenses. Now, I'm going to show you how to enter a bill, okay? So we can go ahead and enter this bill in by clicking enter bill, right? That is only one way that you can enter a bill.
Right.
Guess how many ways there are to enter a bill?
You just said one.
No. Okay.
Okay, there are 3 different methods, but there's only one way from the home page.
No, there are 7 different ways from anywhere you go.
Okay.
Yes.
7?
But yes. But what I meant is, like, when you're recording your expense, when you receive a bill, right? What you do with it and putting it into QuickBooks, there's just 2 different ways, right? You either enter it in through QuickBooks to let it kind of know that you have a bill that you've incurred, or you can just write a check to just pay off that bill. And what QuickBooks is going to do is it's just going to associate that you had a bill and that you paid it, but you never recorded the bill into the statement inside QuickBooks. You just wrote it, the check off. So that's that. But then that's kind of defeating the purpose of using QuickBooks, because the purpose of using QuickBooks is to keep track of your bills. It is also to keep track of your transactions, and trying your hardest to enter the bill in would be the best way to do your business. But there are other transactions that you can do. Let's say I went to the store and bought supplies. Is that a bill that you have to enter in?
No, it's not a bill.
But no, it's not. But it is an expense that you had to incur.
Right.
So this is exactly why I'm explaining to you that there are two ways to recognize the expense. And one of them is to either, exactly, it's either you recognize it by entering in the bill, or you recognize it as an expense and you just write a check for it. That is what I'm trying to explain to you, in a sense of what do you do when you incur an expense. Now, how to enter it into QuickBooks, there are 7 different ways to enter a bill into QuickBooks. Okay? If you choose not to do that way and you want to enter in a bill, there are about 7 ways you can enter a bill. Okay? And the very first one is right here on our home page, right here at Enter the Bill. Right? That's our first one. Where else do you think you can find the place to be able to enter a bill?
The check register.
Not the check register. We're trying to enter the bill in, not pay it yet.
Oh, right. Okay.
So we create an invoice?
No, an invoice is for your customers.
Oh, okay.
All right? Bills are from your vendors.
Right. So do we go to vendors?
You can go to vendors where?
Well, we can go there from the menu bar or the icon bar or
What are we doing when we're going to our vendors? Are you going to the vendor center, or are you just going to the...
yeah.
Okay, so the vendor center, yes, you can do it through there. Now, if I were to click vendors at the menu, drop-down menu, what do you see at the very top?
Enter bills.
Enter bills. That is the second way. All right? And if you were to go to your icon bar, it will take you straight to the vendor center. All right? And that would be technically a third way. All right? And even if I were to go to my vendor center, right? How do I enter this transaction in?
Let's see. In the other window, I saw track bills or something like that.
Okay, bill tracker? Yes, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a second. So after we explore these ways first.
Okay.
All right? What do you see at the very top of this window? Next to new vendors.
New transaction.
Transaction, right.
Okay?
Okay. Enter bills.
Enter bills. Okay? Where else can you go?
Receive items and enter bill.
No,
Enter bill for received items.
that's going to be dealing with inventory, so we don't need to worry about that. This is just expenses in general.
I see. Okay.
Okay, so we got enter bills at the top. Okay, now I'll go ahead and show you the other 3 ways. So we have the home page, the menu bar, and the icon bar, right? We have the and then when we come here, right, we have new transactions at the top of the list right here, right? Enter bill. Now, you can also select a vendor. Let's say I select Ace Supplies, right? If I'm on their page, I can go down to the bottom and I say Manage Transactions. And under there, I can enter a bill.
Oh, okay.
And then lastly, not lastly, but the sixth one is I can go ahead and right click my vendor and I'd be able to enter a bill. Right here, enter bills. Okay. And then lastly, okay, so yes, so in 2018 or 2019, I believe, oh, sorry, I hit the wrong one. Oh, actually, no, I hit the right one. Bill tracker. Okay, so in 2019, you are introduced to this little concept called the bill tracker. I mean, 2018. Yeah, yes. In 2018, you're introduced to what's called a bill tracker. Now, what a bill tracker does for you is it keeps track of every single vendor that has sent you a bill. So here, if you go all the way down to manage transactions, you'd be able to enter a bill using this option right here. So that is a total of 7 ways you can enter a bill.
Yeah.
And you need to know all of them, especially when you're taking your certification exam. Your homepage may not be the answer they're looking for. So you need to be able to explore every single way to be able to enter a bill. Now, I just clicked bill, and here it pops up my little form for me to fill out my information. Now, in this case, I'm going to enter in, I think it's called landlord properties, if I'm not No. Okay, what about properties? Okay, so I have here Orlando properties, right? If I type it in, it should show up something. And if I don't, then I can quick add it. And we'll look at an example of quick add after this. So in this case, I'm going to enter in my bill for Orlando properties, right? Okay. Here, because I have the vendor's information already pre-filled in, when I entered in my vendors, right? All of their information should populate immediately. So did you see how I just typed in Orlando properties and all of a sudden the address filled in by itself, the terms filled in by itself, everything filled in by itself. Okay? And in this case, my bill amount is going to be for $1,500. Why? Obviously, the clear is I'm paying rent. Now I'm going to toggle the date real quick just because of course everything in your book is referring to January and February of 2018 or 19 or no 18. No, I think it's for 2019. We're the year 2020. Now, your QuickBooks can take you back really far, but in this case I'm going to make it that they sent me this bill on the 1st of August just to make it a little relevant. Okay, because the date, it does matter, but it also doesn't matter when you're actually doing these problems, right? It doesn't really matter when we enter them, but just to make each transaction be able to flow, I'm going to say they billed me on the 1st of August. And if I look here at my terms, right, it says it's due in 30 days. So that means this is going to be rent for the month of August, right? I mean, the rent, let me see. If we received it on August, right, then it's for the previous month. So July, for July's month. And right here, we're going to write rent for the month of July. All right, because we just started in August. There's no way that you're going to get charged your rent bill for August already. You should have already paid for it. Wait, in this case,
Well, if we just started, why are we paying rent for July?
you're right. Because I'm trying to make sense of this bill. So I think this bill has to be paid at the end of the month. Because usually you would pay. Okay, so if this bill was given, yes. So since I got this bill, okay. So I'm gonna say, I received this bill on the 31st, right? And I have, no, I should have, let's say I received it on the 15th, just to make it a little easier. On the 15th of July, right? So that means I have to pay for the month of August because you always pay ahead of time. Okay? So for the month of August, I'm paying for the month of August. And here, it's going to tell me right here. Now, because I've associated, so if you guys remember when we put professional fees for Mr. Boswell Consultant, here I made sure that my Orlando Properties is always going to associate with rent expense. And as you can see, here it is, rent expense for $1,500. Now, here we're going to look here that we notice that we have a few little extra categories. The first one is going to be for customers. This one is if I'm purchasing an item for a customer. And in this case, I'm not buying rent for somebody else.
Right.
The next question is going to ask you, is this a billable expense? And we'll learn about that in chapter 9. And in this case, no, it's not billable. And then lastly, we have class. Now, this is where we can determine right here, well, which rent am I paying? Like, what location am I paying for? And in this case, I believe we are paying for the San Jose location. Okay, so here I got San Jose. And the bill is going to be due in 30 days, but I'm going to make it sure that I pay it within, the 1st of August. Okay, so in this case, there's that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and confirm and click Save and Close. You never want to click Save and New unless you're going to enter in another bill. Okay, you always do Save and Close if you're done with this transaction. So I go ahead and save and close, and if you have sound on, you should hear a beep of approval. And here, my bill tracker, right, it immediately has enlisted that I have another bill now, and it's to Orlando Properties. Okay? All right.
Can I ask you one thing too?
Yes.
Because I used to be able to enter a new vendor when I was writing a check. If it was a new vendor, I could put his information in there.
Yeah. We're gonna look at that next.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna look at that next. Okay. So here, this is just us entering in a bill. Now, we're going to come back to this bill in a second so we can pay it off. Now, again, so that's just entering in a bill. All right, and there are, how many ways can we enter a bill? 7 different ways. Yes. Make sure you know every single one of them because you will be tested on it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now we're going to be looking on how many ways you can actually pay a vendor. And there are a total of 3 ways you can do it. You can either enter it in directly you can either write a manual check and then enter it into your check register. You can either use the write a checks option, or you can actually use the pay bill option. Now, let me warn you, okay? For any expense that you have incurred, whether you entered a bill, in order to pay a bill, you need to use the pay bill option. Okay? If I use the write a check for a bill that I've entered in here, right? QuickBooks will not make any association between the bill that you are paying and the check that you are writing. Now, with the 2019, it's actually gotten a lot smarter. So when you write a check, it does detect that you have an associated bill with them. But for most cases, when you're trying to pay a bill, you want to use the pay bill options in order to associate, so it actually QuickBooks in the background actually decreases your accounts payable and decreases your checking account. So you want to make sure that if you are paying a bill that you've entered in, you need to do it through the pay bills option. Okay, but like I said, QuickBooks nowadays it can detect that if you are paying a bill using the write a check window, it will it will detect that, oh hey, you know you have a bill that looks familiar and these kind of look like it, so yes, it detects it for you. But
Yes.
for the fine line, it's generally suggested that in order to validate that transaction, you want to make sure that you associate it with that bill. Okay, so I'm going to show you 3 ways. Okay, so the first way here is going to be using the check register. All right, I think I went to the wrong one. Okay, so here I'm going to go to my check register. All right. Once I click this, it's going to ask you which account are you want to looking into. So again, because I have 3 bank accounts, right? I have a checking account, I have a money market, I have savings, and I have journal entries. So you want to make sure that you're looking into the correct one. And in this case, I want to look into my actual checking account. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now, here are a list of all the transactions I had that has incurred when I was doing just my checking account, right? This is all the deposits I've made, all the checks that I've written, all XYZ, it's all there, right? Now, what I can do is, so this is us using this as a register to enter in our bill. Now, let's say I manually wrote a physical check and I ripped it out of my book and I gave it to, I don't know, a random store. Now, the QuickBooks checkbook is going to be completely different and separate from a physical checkbook. Okay, so make sure that you are aware of that. If you're using QuickBooks to pay for all your bills, then make sure that you understand that when you do that, whether you're using QuickBooks to purchase those checkbooks, or are you printing out the special paper, what are you doing to make sure that you keep your transactions all in one. Now in this case, I have 2 checkbooks, but they are associated in the same account. Okay, so I have one physical checkbook that I can go around, and if I'm traveling, I can just write it right there, sign it, and give it to a person. Or if I'm with QuickBooks, so because this is a desktop version, it's not mobile, then once I finish writing my manual check, I can come here and I would update my my check register by doing so. Okay, so in this case, so since the date, so the date here is, okay, so since I'm already using 2020, I'm just going to go ahead and continue. So I'm going to say, well, today is August 1st, right? And let's say I went to go do an electronic transfer. So instead of writing a check right here, so you see how it automatically popped up as check number 332? No, I'm going to write in here EFT, meaning electronic transfer. Okay, so that means I probably used Venmo or some little nifty little online transfer, and I was able to transfer this money over. Now, who did I send it to? Right, that's the most important. So who did I send this to? I sent this out to Office Supply Store. Okay, random, right? And then if I go ahead and click next, it's going to say, whoa. This person has never existed in this book before. Do you want a quick add, or do you want to actually set up this person's account or vendor, right? Profile, whatever you want to call it. And in this case, well, I'm in the middle of a transaction. I want to complete it. So I'm going to go ahead and do quick add. And it's going to ask me, well, what is it? Is it a vendor? Is it a customer? Is it an employee? Or is it someone else? And in this case, it's a vendor, right? I went to the store and I bought supplies. And I'm going to click OK. Now, what is my account that I'm going to associate this supplies expense, this supplies for? So I'm going to make sure that I have it for supplies, S-U-P.
It's just there, PP,
So here, office supplies, right?
supplies.
So I made association that I bought office supplies. And in your book, what does it say? How much is it for? I think it's like 160 something.
Okay, we're adding, okay, yes. Let's see what
So it should be on the page 109.
yes, I just got there. The
All right.
128, is that it?
Let's see.
128.60, right.
128.60, right? Is it okay?
For office supplies, right.
For office supplies. Okay, so for 128.60. Okay, so here, where am I? So I'm gonna go ahead and associate that I paid 128.60. And any memos, I'm gonna write purchased office supplies. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and press enter to validate my transaction. So here, if I look carefully, I made a $128 plus 60 cents transaction. So therefore my my checking account has decreased by my $128. So here, this is your account balance, right? I started with 11,564. Now I am down to 11,435. Okay, so here, that is what happens when I entered in a random person, right? I did a quick ad. And I was able to, I wrote them a check. Well, actually, I
Right.
I transferred the money to them electronically. So that's what EFT is, electronic funds transfer, right?
Right.
So that is that transaction, and that's how you enter in a transaction, especially using registers, okay? So this is us making an example of us writing a physical check in real life. And coming in here, we're just re-recording it to update our bank, to update our checking account.
Okay.
Okay, so that is how you do that. Now the next portion is going to ask you, well, what if you can do split payments? And in this case, again, when we're looking at split payments, is we're looking at buying the office supplies, right? We bought the supplies and we wanted to divide this expense in between the two classes that we have. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually go in to the we're going to go into the actual transaction. So by me double clicking on it, here it shows me what my transaction is, right? It shows me that I made my 128.60 and it has for all those things. Now, your book says that you have the split button. In 2019, I do not have that split button. What I do have is I just enter it straight in on how I want to associate each one. Okay, so in this case, let's see what it says here. It says that I purchased printer paper. So that's office supplies. I purchased it for the San Jose location for a total of $100. The 28.50, is that 50 or 60? The 28.60, right, was actually a computer and internet expense that I incurred at the Walnut Creek location. So I paid 2 bills in one. All right. So I'm going to go back to here and I'm able to split it up by adding in whatever I want to do. Now in your book, you need to press that split option in order to do it. In mine, I can just go straight right in and do it. So in this case, I have a computer and internet expense. So I typed in computer, here it is, internet and computer expense. Now, if I were to change this, which I can change this to $100, and that means this is going to be for $28.60. Now, by me doing this, my number this number here will stay the same because why? We're making a change into the options, right? But as long as this totals up to our 128.60, we're good. Now, let's say I made a boo-boo and it was actually 126.80, then I'd be able to type it in here, but that means these must also match.
Change, right?
Yes, because QuickBooks would not allow you to enter the data if it's not 100% matching, right? So here I have $100 for printer paper, which I'm going to go ahead and notify. Printer paper. All right. And I bought it for the San Jose location. So I'm going to make sure I'm able to see my class here. San Jose. All right. And then here I have internet bill or internet expense. And it's going to be for my Walnut Creek location. So remember, because we are separating them by expenses, I have 2 locations, but in this case, I paid all of it using one bill, okay? And I want to make sure that everything's correct, so 100 plus 28.60 is equal to 128.60. Once that's confirmed, I can go ahead and click Save and Close. And then it says, you sure you want to make changes to this transaction? You say yes. And then you should get the beep of approval. So that's how you do split payments if you're dealing with more than one location and you're trying to spread the cost out. Okay. All right. And here it still says that it is for 128.60. So
And it indicates it is split.
yes, and it indicates that it's split. Yes. Excuse me? Who has the TV on?
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, who is that?
That's me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Me. I'm sorry.
No worries. I was just saying, hey, we're in the middle of class here. Okay. So again, yes, so now that we're back here, now that we finished our actual transaction here and we use the check register to enter in our bill, this is now complete. Okay? All right, now we're going to be looking into the second method of how to pay a person, okay? So again, if we have expenses that come and go, so for example, this one, right? Do we really care about office supplies store? No, it's probably one of those things that we just were in the middle of, like a random expense that we just had to do, right? It was just convenient. Oh, let's just go to the office supply store, right? We don't really care too much for them. All we care about is, okay, I paid this person and how I paid it and what did it affect my company for, right? I'm not going to go out of my way and edit all this information if I'm not planning to use him, right? It's probably I just drove down the store and was like, oh, I need to go pick up some paper. Simple transaction like that, okay? And you are also able to do that by also using the write a checks option right here. So if I go to my home page, I have the write a checks option, okay? And if I were to click it, it's going to look like this. And I'd be able to write a check for that random person or that random vendor for the same amount of things. And this time I don't need to, I can also make my split payments here instead of making it all in one. You know what I mean? So I can do a lot with when I'm doing this, when I'm writing a check. All right. And with this one, it's also going to create a check number for me. I don't have to do it. I don't have to type it in myself.
Right.
Now, before I get into that, let's look at how many ways you can actually write a check. Okay? So let's go ahead and close this window out. Come on. There you go. So, my first one is here at my home page. How else can I write a check?
Oh, but you write a check there, okay.
So this is one way. It's on my home page.
Didn't we say there were 7 different ways to
Nope. This one's different. There's only 2.
Oh, this is different. Oh, okay.
Every transaction is different. That's why you guys need to make sure that you know and you're aware of it. So this one, there's only 2. Maybe 3. But I don't think well, we'll see. Okay, so you can write a check on the home page. Where else can you write a check?
You go to
No, we-
the menu bar
Okay, what topic under the menu bar?
under vendors, or no, banking.
Banking, good. If I go here at where am I, banking? Yes, I have the write a check option right here.
Oh, okay.
Good. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and test this theory because I'm not actually quite sure if you can do it or not. I don't think you can, but let's see. If I go to my bill tracker and if I were to go to manage bills, can I write a check? Yes, you can.
Okay.
Check right there. So yes, you can. There are 3 ways you can write a check. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and write a check. Now in this case, I'm going to go ahead and pay off my Wong and Son video, right? Now, this is what I was talking about when I said if you were to write a check through this option, you it won't recognize any bill that you have. And in this case, it lets you know, hey, you have an unpaid bill right here to this person, right? And it says right here, it's for $142, right? Now, it's going to tell you, it's going to revert you. Do you want to write a check or do you just want to go to the pay bill options? So here it's stopping you right now and letting you know, hey, if you do the write a checks option, it will not associate. If you do the proper way, which is to go to the bill section, then yes, it will go ahead and make that, it will properly take that 142 out for you. So, I'm going to go ahead and, I can't even, okay, so do you want to write a check or do you want to go to the bills?
Go to pay bills.
Go to pay bills. Now my computer's freaking out. Okay, so now you're going to get this window, and this window is going to allow you to be able to pay your bills. Now, I am going to close this out because I want to actually show you a different way to do this because we're going to be looking at different things. So, let's just say I don't use the bill tracker and I don't use this, right? But now we know that if you write a check, right, and you're writing it for that person, that's what's going to happen. It's going to make it an association that, hey, you have a bill, and it's going to give you that option, right? If you write a check, it will not associate it with the bill. If you go to the bills option, it will stop there. So that's what I mean by it will recognize that you have an account balance. And if you are intentionally paying the bill off, you need to go to the pay bills option. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and write a different scenario in this case. So I'm going to say I have Ace Supply, right? Ace Supply, and I'm going to pay them right now, okay? Because I just went to their store. I bought something real quick, and you want to make sure that the date is correct. I'm not on. Okay, so I'm going to say I'm on the 3rd of August, right? And I went to Ace Supply, and here it tells you that it's office supplies, okay? And I'm gonna say I bought, I don't know, $162.50 worth of office supplies, okay? In my memo, I don't know what I bought, but I'm gonna write office supplies, and I'm gonna make sure I say I bought it for the Walnut Creek location. Okay, so here it's going to automatically update that I owe $162.50. In this case, I don't need a bill because in this case, I actually wrote a bill. I wrote a check to them, and I'm going to send it out to them right now because for some reason, I didn't want to put my bill in. So here, I'm entering it, and I have right here at the top. Now, 2 things that you need to know. If you are going to go ahead and click Save and Close, what's going to happen is your check number is going to appear in your check number right here. And it's going to automatically assume that you're continuing on what you are doing, what you were currently working on, right? So if I'm writing a check right now, and I have intentions to print it out and send it out, there's my number right there. Now, you do have the options when you are printing this check number out, okay? So, for some reason, it's not appearing on, there you go, okay? So, when you have this, right, if you click the option that you're going to print later, then you're not going to have an account number, a check number.
Check number. Oh,
Okay? Because what happens is the minute you print it out, it will stamp a check number. So I can be writing like 10 checks right now using the write a check window, and if I were to click the print later, it will not assign a number to the check until you go into your printer and you have it print, and we will explore those options probably after the break since it's almost time to go. I mean, it's almost time for a break. So with that though, in this case, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna print it later. I'm gonna print it right now because I have to send it out to him ASAP. So by doing that, it's going to associate this number here, which that's weird. I've never seen this number before. That's okay. It's because this is the number that was previously entered in from the previous transaction. So this is a continuation of what the number is. Now, there are a few things that you need to know. You definitely cannot have the same exact number, and QuickBooks will let you know if you're using the same number. Okay? Second thing is you can create a different sequence number because what happens is when you print it out, that's the thing. It's going to be a different sequence number every single time that you do it. And the great thing about QuickBooks is QuickBooks would automatically, if you were to change it, let's say I'm starting on my, 500th check, right? Since I'm in, no, actually, let's do a different number. Let's do 625, right? If I were to associate this as 625 right here, because I can type it in, right? Because my previous transactions were way in February, right? The last transaction I had for check number 330 was in February. In this case, I'm already in August, so I'm already making the assumption that I've already went through 300 checks within those 3 months. Okay, so here I'm going to write that my check number is 625. And I'm going to go ahead, click Save and Close. Now I got the beep of approval, and what happens is if I were to create another check, boom, it would automatically associate a new sequence in your check. Okay? So that is what's cool about that. And every time you make your bill payments going on so forth, it will update it by that number. So here again, what I was talking about earlier is my last transaction was in February. I wrote my check at $330. Now that I'm in August, so I'm assuming that my check should be $625. And here it automatically updated my information and it took out the money from my checking account. Okay, easy peasy, straightforward. All right. Now the last thing I'm going to start showing you is how to properly pay your bills. Okay. So now that we saw three ways to enter, two methods of entering in when you're paying when you're just paying for expenses in general. Now the third way is going to be utilizing this pay bills option.
Yes.
Okay, so with pay bills option, you have another 7 ways to be able to pay your bill.
Another 7.
Another 7. All right. Actually, to be honest, you have actually 8.
8?
Yes, you have 8. I'm gonna make sure I say this is you have 8.
Okay. I didn't know there were that many.
Yes, there are 8 ways. All right. So already we know number 1 way is going to be here on the home page.
Pay bills, right.
Okay. What are my other 7 ways to be able to pay a bill?
Let's see. What are the other 7 ways? There, let's see.
Okay.
Try to go back. Okay. What did we say? Manual? I know we said manual check.
This is us paying the bills.
Right, the payment bills, right.
So in the pay bills option, there are 8 different ways from there.
Mm-hmm. There are 8 ways that you can pay a bill.
Okay, from the pay bills option.
I'm not quite sure what you're asking me, but yes, I'll just say yes. In order to pay a bill.
We're at the pay bills option, right?
Right here,
Where
yes.
your cursor is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from there are 8 different options.
No, there are 8 ways to pay a bill. As in this is one way.
Well, I'm really confused on all these different ways because I can't organize them to what we're referring to.
Okay.
Here, I just noted that pay bills option, there are 8 different ways from there.
Good.
Incorrect.
Well, okay.
And at the top, in my notes, it says there are 3 ways to pay a bill, and now
That is 3 method. Okay, so okay. Let's go back to that.
There's 8 ways on the third.
Okay, so when we're looking at a transaction on hand, right? There are 3 methods that you can pay a bill, which is the 3 ones is to either you write a manual check, you either write a check using QuickBooks, or you use the pay bill option. Okay? Now, when we're in
There is a manual.
Those are the 3 ways that you can pay a bill, like physically pay a bill. Like physically pay a bill. Get rid of it, Like
3 methods to pay a bill.
okay? Yes.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Now, when we're looking at trying to pay a bill that has been entered into QuickBooks, right? When we saw that pop-up window saying when we were writing a check, if you've entered a bill into the system, you need to properly use the pay bills option in order for QuickBooks to recognize that that you want to decrease an accounts payable, that you're trying to pay a bill in QuickBooks. Okay? And there are 8 ways you can pay that bill off. Okay?
If you go through the enter bills.
No.
If you have entered the bills into QuickBooks, there are 8 different ways to pay it.
Yes. Okay?
Just give me a moment and let me just.
That's correct. That's correct.
Clear in my head. Okay.
Okay?
Let's see. If used enter bills
Mm-hmm.
option,
Mm-hmm.
there are 8
Mm-hmm.
ways
To pay the bill.
to pay the bill in QuickBooks.
Mm-hmm. Okay?
The bill. Okay.
Okay.
alright.
And the
But
first.
Only if you use the enter bills.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So, in order to pay the bills, right? I said that there are 8 ways in order to access this icon right here. So let's say I didn't have the home page, right? Let's get rid of my home page. All right? Tell me how do you pay your bill?
You can go to banking and menu.
And you can go into.
Let's see banking on the menu. I don't know if that is a way. Banking on the menu. Do you see anywhere that says to pay a bill?
No, it just says write checks.
It just says to write a check, and that is not what we're looking for.
Okay, then we got icon bar.
Icon bar, what would you do there?
Let me see. Bill tracker? No.
Let me move my.
Scroll
Let me.
down.
Yeah, I don't want to tap it. So let me see. Bill tracker. Let me find my bill tracker. Where are you, bill tracker?
What about vendors?
Okay, so hold on. Let me explore one option at a time. So where is my? Okay, so bill tracker. Yes. If I were to click my bill tracker, okay, where do I need to go from there? Okay. Can I pay a bill using the bill tracker?
No, it just no.
Okay.
Lists your bills.
Okay, so then just looking at that, I'm gonna scratch this out. There's only 7 ways now.
Huh?
Yes, sorry about that. Because I thought you could use the bill tracker to pay it, but you can't.
Okay, so there's
Okay,
7
okay,
ways.
so there are 7. Okay.
Yes.
7 ways. Okay.
Okay. So we already
bill
explored. So
tracker's
bill
not one.
tracker's not one of them.
All right.
Okay. So the pay bills is 1.
But where is pay bills?
That's on our home screen.
Home screen. So that's one way. Home page is the first one. Yes.
Yeah, that's number 1.
So if I were to go to my home page, boom, I have my pay bills right
Yeah,
there.
pay bills. Okay.
Okay? That is one way.
Okay, I thought we already.
Okay?
Home pages. Yeah.
All right.
And what about write checks from our check register?
Remember,
Write checks, I'm sorry.
you cannot write a check to pay a bill. We just went over this.
Oh, that's right.
Because it will not make
For the
any
bill,
association.
yeah,
Yes,
it's not
it
gonna
will.
associate it, right,
Exactly. Yes.
So
Okay,
what
so
about
we're-
vendor?
What about
On
vendors?
the icon.
On the icon bar, if I go to my vendors, right? Where is it going to take me? Oh, hold on. Let me. Where is it going to take? Oh, where is my vendors? I need to organize this. Okay. If I were to go to my vendors, right, and I click it, where does it take me?
I thought there was somewhere you could pay a bill from here.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Oh.
Okay, so do we go down to manage transactions?
Yes, you can.
Uh-huh. Ah.
There you
And
go.
bill payments.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yep. So that's the second way. What's the third way?
Yes. Okay.
Okay,
That's
so let's see. Vendors,
3.
manage, transactions.
Okay, now you want to be careful not to just go to any managed transactions, right? You need to go to the exact vendor that you're looking at. So for example, I'm trying to pay where is Orlando Properties? Orlando Properties, right? I need to select Orlando Properties in order for me to go ahead and click that manage transactions.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Um.
Okay. Okay, are we thinking of the third way now?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
All right. What about the top? What about the top of the window of our vendor page? What do you see?
Transactions.
New transactions.
Mm-hmm. Pay bills.
Pay bills. There you go.
Uh-huh. Transactions.
Okay.
Okay, new transactions.
Okay.
What is that? Is that 4 already? Oh no. That's only 3.
Okay.
And this is the third one.
Mhm.
Um, okay.
Wait, the home page.
Yeah, could you go back to the home page for a second?
Yeah. Home page. What do you need to be at the home
You're
page for?
looking at this. Okay.
No. I'm talking to myself.
That already. That's fine.
Now we're in the vendors and the icon,
Yes.
and there are 2 so far.
Uh huh.
2 different ways from there
Uh huh.
so far. There must be a third way since you're still there.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the other one was into the specific vendor.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
about? Oh no, that's pretty.
Okay, we already determined that bill tracker is not one of the ways.
Uh-huh.
Cross that out.
We cross that out. Mhm.
Okay, so are we still in the vendors or are we?
Yes, I'm still in the vendor center. There's one more way in the vendor center, and then there's a few ways out of the vendor center. So there's one more.
All right.
Okay, well, there's nothing on the bottom there.
We already explored that. We already explored the top. We already explored the bottom. What else?
In the middle. Okay, gotta be in the middle.
Yes, it's got to be in the middle.
To-dos, transactions.
I'm just going to give you a hint. What if you right click a vendor?
Oh, it gives you more information.
Yes, it gives you all the transactions you can do with this vendor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says write checks.
Pay
there.
bill. Yeah. Right.
We want to look at pay bills. We want to look at pay bills,
Pay
okay?
bill. Right. Pay bill.
Okay, so
That was right
specific.
clicking.
Okay, so click specific vendor.
To pay
Right
bills.
click.
Uh-huh.
Okay, right click to pay bill.
Okay. And then I'll go ahead and just give you the other two because it's almost time for break. So if you go to the vendor's bar menu on the bar, right? Again, just like a restaurant, right? If each section gives you a list of all of the transactions, that's the first thing you want to look at. You go to the vendor section, right? Because we're dealing with our vendors when we're paying our bills, right? If we click our vendors, if we go down, it says right here, pay bills.
Oh, didn't we do that already?
No,
Do that.
no, we didn't.
Oh.
The first thing that we did was the home page. The second thing we did was the icon bar. The third thing we did was the manage transactions. The fourth thing was the new transactions. The fifth was to right click. This is the sixth way. is the menu bar to
Oh, I got number
pay bill.
5.
I got
see.
5 too. I don't have the. I
Okay, the
have,
first one was homepage. We went to
yes,
pay bill.
Uh-huh.
Then I
Okay,
have
the
vendor
second one
info.
was the icon bar, going to vendors and manage transaction.
Yeah, it's okay. When you go to when you go through the icon bar, you're essentially going through the vendor center.
Right,
Okay?
and there are 3 there.
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
so that makes 4 total to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we're at the menu bar, which is number 5.
Okay, if you look at it that way, yes, it's 5.
Okay.
But I'm looking at it like, okay, number 1 is I'm going to go to my home page, right? Number 2, I'm going to go through my icon bar to go to the vendor center to go through to do one of these transactions. That's 2.
Mhm.
The third way is just getting to the vendor center, period, whether it's the home page menu or icon bar. From there, one way is to go to manage transactions. Second way is to do the new transactions. Third way is to right click. So technically that is 5 different ways. Because ultimately you can get to the vendor center not only through the icon bar.
So 5 was the menu bar? Is that,
Yeah, menu, yeah, you go to the menu bar under
Okay,
vendors and then boom,
Right.
pay bills is right there. So that's
okay.
5, technically 6, however you want to look at it.
Okay.
I think this is the 6th way. Okay? But you guys determine however you want to determine it. All right? Lastly, when we go ahead and double click our whatchamacallit, our bill, right? What does it say at the top?
Yeah. Right.
Wait
Pay
a minute,
bill.
double
Pay
click
bill.
bill,
It
where?
sure is right there.
Yes, it is. When you're on your
Pay
bill, you got it right there. So that's the last
No,
way.
where are you?
I'm at the bills. Okay, so here. This is this is what happened, right? I went to my vendor, right? And I want to look at my bill. I just want to look at just my bill. I can double click this and here is my bill. It will give you my information right here.
Okay, so we're from the menu bar. The vendors under the menu bar. And then we double click on bills from there.
Wait, again, menu bar,
Okay, we're on the vendors from the menu bar.
vendor,
Then we went to
okay,
pay
okay.
bills.
Pay bills.
Right.
Yeah, that's one, okay.
Okay, then we double click.
No.
Okay.
Again, I just want to look at just my bill. Okay? So this is my vendor center.
Okay.
And you can get that way 2 different ways too, because you can also just go into the enter bills and you can pull up.
Correct. Correct. You can just go through the enter bills and you'd be able to pull up your bill there that way too. Yes. But in this case,
Where the heck we got there? I don't know how we got there.
so this is the vendor center. Lee, there are 3 ways to get to the vendor center.
Vendor center
Mm-hmm.
from any way you get there.
There is, you can either
3
go
ways to get
there, you can go to the vendor at the menu bar, right here, vendor center. If you click on the icon bar, it's going to take you directly to the vendor center. If you go on your home page, right, so if I click this word right here, that little tab thing, you see how it's blue and it's tabbed?
Yes.
If I click that, here's my vendor center.
Oh, it takes you right there.
I know that there are 3 ways to get to the vendor center. So any way is fine for the
Yes.
7th way.
Yes.
Get to the vendor center.
Correct.
Okay, from there, where do we?
Okay, so Okay, so let's say I want to look for my specific vendor. So I want to go to look at Orlando properties, right? Here I could see my bill. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I notice that I see my bill right here. If I double click it, my bill should pop up.
Okay.
And then up at the top.
And then at the very top,
Yeah.
it says pay bills right there.
Good bill. Okay.
Yes.
All right, I get it.
Okay. All right. So let's.
There are 7 ways.
Yes,
Or 8
they
ways,
are.
however
Yes,
you look at
yes. However you look at it. Yes. So make sure that you understand all of those ways because you will be tested on that specific, especially for the navigation part. I had a previous student that also told me that when she took the certification exam, one of the questions was to enter a bill, and she did every single way until it was the very last one that accepted her answer.
Oh, really?
So yes, so it does actually happen when you're certified, when you're testing for your certification. So yes, all right. So please, 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 we will look at this multiple times, and I will be asking you how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Because
A lot
it.
of notes on this.
Yes. Yes. Because right now it is 9:10. Let's take a break. Let's stop here and take a break.
Okay. What time?
And let's just be generous and just do 15 minutes.